of Vulgar Video Vlogtober. I am your host, Jessica, and this is my co-host.
Seven.
And today we are continuing on with our meta horror saga week. Today we're going to be watching Happy Death Day.
This is a recent horror movie that I have not watched.
Neither have I.
I've seen some reviews on it, but I know very little about it. So I'm really hopeful here. 2017 release. The runtime is 98 minutes or so, and it is directed by Christopher Landon. Currently, we are going to watch this on HBO Now, which
we know we usually like to advertise for you guys free, or most of the time free videos. So when I mean most of the time, like if you have Netflix or Prime or whatever, I know you're paying for the subscription, but almost, somebody that has Netflix or somebody has Prime. HBO Now or HBO Go, I know is a little harder to find when Game of Thrones is... Let's not talk about Game of Thrones. I'm just gonna get upset. Anyway.
We got the HBO thing was for Game of Thrones, and season 8, let's not talk about that. So what are your feelings going into this one?
My feelings going into this, I'm really, really hopeful. It looks really good, and who doesn't, love listening to 50 Cent? It's your birthday. Over and over again.
My only problem is it is rated PG-13, which a lot of times for horror movies, that is kind of a kiss of death. Basically means we're not going to get a lot of gore, but it also does mean normally we're going to get a good amount of story. So hopefully the story will be tight and concise enough that I don't care that we're not getting gore.
I'm just excited.
So excited, and I just can't hide it.
I was going to say stop singing, we're going to get copyrighted. Alright, we will see you guys in about 98 minutes. We are back from our adventure of Happy Death Day. Overall, it was a really good movie, really strong lead in general. Very likable, redeemable.
Overall, everything about this is super well done. This is from Blumhouse, which, if you're a horror fan, you know that Blumhouse has been cranking out really good horror movies for the past about 5 years or so. And everything about this is well done. Most amazingly, strong character development. Overall, everybody, the lead actress, actors, everybody. It's pretty much kind of a whodunit and extended out to the nth degree, and it's just wonderful. It's a great film. Is it a horror film? It's debatable on that one, but it's a great film, and it is a very good meta horror movie, rivaling Scream. This is properly that good. I don't know there's nothing I can say that is a detraction for it, other than the inclusion of the serial killer is a bit late in the story, but it works, and it works really well. So
yeah,
I don't really have too much to say other than I wouldn't consider it 100% of a horror movie, but that's such a weak argument to say, like, oh, well, it's not a horror movie.
But we're reviewing horror movies.
But again, you could make the argument that it is. It's a horrific scenario.
I mean, you could make the argument that it is a horror movie. It's got, slasher elements, which would categorize it in the horror genre, more specifically slasher horror drama. So you could argue at that. It's not really scary because it is PG-13. There's not a lot of gore either. Overall, it's very strong as a movie. Everything flowed really nicely. The plot line works. The characters work. The killer at the end, I feel like the motive isn't super strong per se, but then again, what killers' motives are usually that strong in general when it comes to horror movies. It's usually over something petty, especially like a meta horror, it's petty.
Can I just say, your favorite horror franchise is Friday the 13th.
But that Jason is different. So either killers have like no motive, they're just kill to kill, or...
But let's go back. Okay, so Friday the 13th Part 1, it's... Spoiler, Jason's mom is the killer, and she's doing the killing because Jason died.
Right.
Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason now is doing the killing because his mother was killed.
Yes.
But presumably Jason is dead. So there doesn't have to be reason for horror movies, we just need...
I know there doesn't have to be a reason, but...
We just need somebody to do some slashing. And this film definitely gives us a lot more... It's more real, I guess. Real motives, you know? Because, spoiler, at the end, it ends up being her roommate, who... Her reason is that her and her roommate are going after the same guy.
Which is the doctor that our lead is taking a class with the doctor, and the roommate works with the doctor at the hospital.
But that's still believable. That's a believable reason.
It's believable, but there was like there wasn't any indication that the roommate was with the doctor.
It's very true.
I mean, maybe I'm just a little, I don't want to say butthurt, but maybe I'm just a little like, about the motive because, like, we don't have any backstory, we don't have any flashback, like, nothing. It was just kind of like, he's choosing you over me, blah, 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 and even our lead, which was comical on her part, where she's like, you're really killing me over a fucking guy? So...
Let's be fair, though, don't know, I did not look up the name of the actress, but Tree, she's a good-looking woman. But so is the roommate.
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just saying, she's a good-looking woman, and if we're talking about in movie format, normally you're gonna go for the blonde in movie format.
Dang.
In movie format, I'm not saying in real life. Movie format, there's a blonde, everybody's going for her. Spoiler. It's the way it works in almost all horror movies.
Spoiler.
So what is the rating for this one for you?
Overall, the movie is very well done. It has that slasher horror elements to it. I have a strong cast. We have good kills. The plot is good. There's no weird like transitions or shots or anything like that. So
once again, Blumhouse, God, they do work. They do work. They know what they're doing, and they're very good at that. So again, shout out to Blumhouse, because you guys are really the top of the pops when it comes to horror at the moment.
I'm gonna have to give it, just me personally, I'm gonna have to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I just feel like, as far as like when comparing, and I know we're not doing the rankings yet, but just for what in the moment right now, I feel like it's not as strong as Scream, just when it comes to just being a horror movie in general. But overall, the movie was great.
Yeah, I've been kind of racking my brain for this, and I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. If this wasn't a horror movie ranking, it would be a 5 out of 5. It's fantastic. But in terms of being a horror movie, it does kind of lag. It is PG-13, which I try not to hold that against a horror movie. You know, there are ways you can do that that are very creepy, and develops a sense of fear. But this one is based mostly on the repetitiveness of, you know, reliving essentially your death day You know, it's called Happy Death Day, so it is reliving that death, and that is horrifying in and of itself. But in terms of a horror movie, it is a bit lacking. And I'm not somebody that gives points for jump scares or something like that, but you're just not scary, really. This is just a good movie. So, get a 4 out of 5 for that. If I was ranking this as just, you know, a movie on its own, it would almost certainly be a 5 out of 5. But for a horror movie, it's a 4. You know, there's just not enough horror elements in here. It is definitely a meta horror movie because, oh Jesus, it's just a meta movie in general. It understands, especially at the end where, what's his name?
Carter?
Carter references Groundhog Day, which, yeah, it understands what it's doing. It's just taking a comedic element and putting it into a horror movie scenario. It's very strong and it's definitely worth watching. I would even say it's worth renting or even buying. It's definitely worth paying $3 to rent on whatever platform you choose. It's just a strong film. It's very enjoyable. And I think we'll definitely be watching the sequel on our own free time.
For sure. Alright guys, thank you so much for keeping up with our episode of Vulgar Video Vlogtober. We will see you guys in the next one. Today we're going to be watching, reacting, and commenting
Rival